you guys, thank you so much for joining in. You guys know we have our Wisdom Soup meeting every month. We do this every single month. We've been doing it. I've been doing it for years now, and it has been such a very, very fun part of my own spiritual journey, my own spiritual growth, because this is one of the ways that I continue to expand my own horizons. How do I expose myself to new ideas, to new people? Because as you know, like every healer needs a healer. We all need each other. We all have different perspectives and share different lenses on spirit and on this world. And so I find it to be such a valuable thing to continually broaden our horizons, to look for other ways of seeing. So I love doing this, and I love shining a light on other practitioners that maybe we haven't heard of before, maybe haven't connected with before. So it has been a really fun way of, and I will tell you guys, there was a time when I thought crystals were just rocks. There was a time I didn't believe in dragons, and all that has changed. As a matter of fact, the whole crystal thing, the whole reason I started believing in crystals was at a wisdom soup back when I used to do them in person eons ago. And I had the woman who ran the local crystal shop, and she's awesome. Her dad owned the shop and she was raised in it, right? Born surrounded by crystals. So she like knew her stuff. And she came to the meeting and she had prepared these little brown bags that were mystery bags. And she gave us each one, and we stood in a circle and we had to put our hand in the bag and not look, and then write down what we felt about the crystal. And she had she did this 2 rounds of this. And then, of course, shocking, everyone wrote down the same basic qualities. One was a grounding stone, everybody was like, I feel so relaxed, or I rested, or if, they were all writing down, and it was all the same. We all felt it. So mind blown in that moment. Okay, I guess there's something to this. So anyways, that's the fun, right? That is the fun of allowing ourselves to expand and to feel new things. So this month, I have invited a person I think you're going to absolutely love hearing from, because we are all fans of angels in this group, as well as all the other beings. So Christi Clemons Hoffman. So some of you may already know her. If you don't, you're going to love what she shares. So she shares real life stories where people have had contact, where they've had experiences that have changed their lives. All different types of experiences from other beings. Could be loved ones, could be even ETs, angels, the gamut, right? It is, have you been touched in a way that meaningful impacted your lives? So she's a I believe, full-time practitioner. She conducts her own sessions. She's a QHHT practitioner. So if you know Dolores Cannon's work, she does that. She's a Reiki master. And does so she does healings, readings for people. She also has her own podcast and is an author. So she, or 2 podcasts actually, and an author. And her book is a compilation of these stories of all people who have had real life experiences where they feel like they have been touched in some way from the other side, in a beautiful way that inspired them. So anyways, that I thought right, like me, was like the mic drop moment. I'm like, yes, let's have that conversation, because how fun is that? So I would love to introduce you guys to Christi Clemons Hoffman. So let me go ahead and bring her into a spotlight so you can find her. Here she is. So welcome, Christi, to Wisdom Soup.
I'm happy to be here, Anne. Just thrilled. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So part of the fun of this is we do have, as you can see, a wonderful group here with us. So I invite you guys, if you have questions for her, to pop them into the chat. And we've got Wendy and Kira here. They will let us know. So we make sure that we introduce those questions into the conversation. So, but I know you guys are always busy too, talking to each other in the chat, which I love. I love, you guys know I'm all about the community. So I love that. So, oh, and Johanna's here from Marysville, Washington. That is like really close to me. Welcome, neighbor. That's so cool. I'd love to see that. So, and then I see also you're from another person from Philadelphia. That's not that far from Wendy and Kira. So we're covering all the bases. Pretty cool. So, all right. So, Christi, I would love to chat with you about, we've got lots to cover today, but you are right now working full time in spirit. Like you're doing this is the job you love, and you're able to do it. And I'm sure that was not a smooth road to get there. So where did you start? You started, I understand you used to work at Hallmark. Is that right?
I used to work at Hallmark. Yeah, I was an editor for packaging, and oh my goodness, it was a great place to work. I absolutely loved Hallmark, but my goodness, what a challenging and kind of boring job. But I loved it. But I knew that, being a corporate person was not going to be it wasn't something that really just charged me up. You know what I mean? By
Yeah.
this time though, I had already been doing readings outside of my full-time job and Reiki as well at
Oh.
my full-time job.
So
And mm,
so what was it? So if the Hallmark, so you were before this, you had started on the journey of learning and doing reading. So what got you to take the first step?
Dark Night of the Soul.
Yes.
Namely, it was the end of my marriage, and
Yeah.
it was a really challenging. Nobody signs up for that, especially when you've got
Yeah.
a little kid at home.
Oh,
And my husband decided not to be part of the family anymore, and it was quite
mm.
a shock.
Yeah, yeah. That
It
was
was,
mine too. Mine started with a divorce.
yeah,
Yeah.
see.
So it's, and I think it's so come like everybody here, raise your hand if you had divorce was your kickoff. Anybody? Raise your hand if you were divorced. I know some people it's illness, it's a something, but many of us are in the divorce category, which is
Right.
like such a blessing. It's the one thing you can thank you, like your ex, you're like, thank you, higher self ex, for giving me that lovely divorce.
I mean, the relationship served its purpose, and it was just time to transition it. So, yeah, it was Dark Night of the Soul, and I was completely taken aback. But I started Googling, as you do, Googling soulmates and karma and soul contracts and those type of things, and that's what led me to Dolores Cannon.
Ah,
The
there
photo
she
above my
is.
head, that's what led me to Dolores Cannon. And I was reading about all of her work in this hypnosis field, and I thought, that is fascinating. She was in Arkansas at the time. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri. It's like a 3-4 hour drive. And I thought, okay, that's what I can do. I can have my mom watch my little girl, and then I go down to Arkansas, have the session with Dolores. I get all my answers, my questions answered, come back home, and that will totally work out. I called Dolores's office. I said, "Hi, I would like to schedule a past life regression session with Dolores Cannon." And they said, "Well, she's booked up for 4 years." I didn't know she was Dolores Cannon.
Wouldn't it have been cool if you had gotten that session, but still, yeah.
But
Yeah.
still booked up for 4 years. I said, "Well, I was really kind of hoping to get in before that." They said, "Well, you are in luck because she's just started teaching people how to use her method. And, go to this website, put your zip code in, and you can hopefully find somebody near you who has
Yeah.
taken this class and knows how to do this." Well, I did. And I found someone, and I didn't get very far with it. Turns out I'm quite a control enthusiast.
Yes, can relate. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
And so,
And
and just to explain why that's an issue, maybe can you tell for anybody who's not familiar, can you just give a brief intro, like what that session, what the QHJT work is? Because the control thing is a big deal in terms of getting under. So if you could, because
yeah.
some people, lots of people know Dolores, but not everybody.
Okay, that's a fair point. So, quantum healing hypnosis technique, also known as QHHT, is the hypnosis method that Dolores developed over her 40 plus year career.
Yeah.
And it dives into not only other lifetimes that might have some direct relevance on the current lifetime, but it also allows you, the client, to be in touch with your higher self.
Yeah.
And that is the part of us that we all share. We all have this access to our higher self, and that has the answers to all of our life questions that we would ever want to have, as well as keys toward physical healing too. And so
Beautiful.
when I talk about going into hypnosis, there's a certain amount of vulnerability with that. There's a
Mhm.
certain amount that you need to be able to relax around a stranger. Of course, we get to know each other very, very well in the session. There's a lengthy interview that's at least 2 hours, but usually more. But still, you need to be able at some point to what I call let go of the side of the pool. And come to find out later that this practitioner here in Kansas City was not doing the method as Dolores taught it. So I was having a difficult time with the session and going
Mhm.
into this trance state. Now, since then, okay, that was in 20, okay, let's see, I had the session in I think honestly 2010. I took my level 1 in 2016. Now, since then, being the control enthusiast that I am, I have found ways to work around that kind of thing. So I
Okay.
love my left brain people. Fun nut to crack, you know? So, so during this session, I didn't get very far, but the practitioner did say, this doesn't happen very often, but when it does, I've got someone I can refer you to. He referred me to a woman named Gail here in the Kansas City area who does readings.
Oh, great. That is awesome.
Oh, it was wonderful. And she's lovely. I went to her. I had a wonderful reading. I sent so many of my friends to her. They had wonderful experiences as well. She started teaching people. And this was 2010. And she started teaching people. And I took every class that she was teaching. I learned how to put a name to what I was doing naturally, to
Yeah.
harness the intuition that I've had since a baby and have
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
context, right? I had no one to talk to about it because nobody in my circle knew anything about intuition, angels,
Yeah.
or guidance, or any of that. Of course, I grew up in the 70s. So, this wasn't nearly the thing it is now. So I started working with clients then and doing angel readings, communication with their guides and their loved ones, animals, etc. Then I was meeting a lot of people in this space around here who were doing energy work, and I had never heard of that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard of energy work. What is that? I had never heard of what is that? So I thought, well, that is something I definitely need to learn. So I took my Reiki 1 and 2, and then about that time is when I got laid off from Hallmark, along with 1,500 other people. They do these huge layoffs every once in a while, and I was part of that. And as part of the severance package, they gave me a great package, but also I got to take entrepreneurship classes.
Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gonna get laid off. Do it from Hallmark. I'm serious. They treat their ex-employees very well. And so I learned how to open a business and run a business and do all of the P&Ls and all of that type of thing in the marketing. And I knew that I wanted to work in this space, and I started Radiate Wellness, which is a wellness collaborative. And I wanted to have a group practice where we could refer each other, we could do group sessions, we can work together and really build something together. But I didn't have the capital to rent a building or renovate a building. So I started Radiate Wellness as a virtual practice,
Mm.
putting
Mhm.
together the website, which is our office, and allowing for people to schedule there, get information, et cetera, et cetera.
Perfectly poised for COVID. So how miraculous is that?
Who
So
knew?
yeah. Do you know, I love your story as I think that it is literally like a template for how this happens, right? How we go along in our life. Like, and I can see myself in your story. I'm sure most people here can see themselves in your story, that we go along, and then something happens to rip the rug out from underneath you, to cause you to question everything, right? To cause you to come to the questions. And then it may not be the first thing that you found. Like, you thought Dolores was the path, but then that was a pathway to this other person who was, I'm sure, contracted with you on a soul level
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
to
I don't
guide
think I
you.
was ready for quantum healing hypnosis technique, quite honestly. I don't think I
Yeah.
was ready for it. But it's interesting, Anne, that I was laid off in 2015.
Yeah.
2016, the same week that I launched the website Radiate Wellness, I went to Eureka Springs, Arkansas for a week to study my level 1
Very cool.
QHHT class.
Very
I
cool.
was thinking doing these two huge things in the same week, but here we are.
And I love the timing of the layoff too. Like, it right in the moment when it was like, okay, time for you to just dive in and do this full time. And you already had your feet wet. You were already doing sessions. I mean, sure, like, I mean, honestly, would you have taken that step if it hadn't been for the layoff?
No,
Yeah,
not at all.
amazing, amazing. So to me, I just see that as like there's no accidents, and it's just a perfect example to segue into the idea that spirit is always speaking to us in different phases of our different ways in our life, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so you had this brilliant idea to collect these stories, these inspirational stories, and put them into a podcast. And I know you had another podcast previously, but this one. So how did you start collecting these stories?
Well, and I have to say this was not my brilliant idea, it was theirs.
Yes.
As all good things are usually. So yeah, I already had this Radiate Wellness podcast. It was a weekly podcast, or still is. Well, no, it's not weekly anymore, but it was a weekly podcast and running this business, this group practice, and a full slate of my own clients and a single mom. So pretty
Wow.
busy. And
Wow.
it was COVID. And yes, you're absolutely right. Thank God I had a virtual practice because having a brick and mortar would have been very difficult during COVID.
Yeah.
And so during it was the second year of the pandemic, 2021, and my guide started tapping me on the shoulder and they said, "Hey, you need to tell people about us." And I said, "Okay, that's awesome. I already did a whole series on YouTube called 52 Weeks of Angel Connection." And I did that several years before the pandemic hit. Every week I went on, well, because my guides told me, "Christy, you need to learn YouTube. So we're going to give you an assignment, and that's going to get you up to speed on YouTube." And I did every week for a year. I featured a different archangel or ascended master and talked about them, channeled them, shared information about them. So I said, "That's wonderful, guides, but I already did this whole series on you guys." And they said, "Okay, well, you need to do more. You need to have another podcast." And I was like, "No, I don't want to."
It's a lot of
Already,
work. I know. It's a lot of work.
it's a lot of work. Finally, they wore me down. And I said, "Okay, well, you're going to have to show me a way to do this because I'm already stretched max." And so they showed me Jim Harold's Campfire. I don't know if you're familiar with Jim Harold. He's a podcaster extraordinaire in the
I have
paranormal
heard
realm.
of Campfire, but I haven't listened, but I have heard of it. I've heard good things.
My favorites. Jim Harold is the sweetest guy, and he endorsed my book, as a matter of fact. And
Oh, cool.
he's awesome. He's so sweet. But he has this great podcast called The Virtual Campfire, where people will call in with their paranormal spooky stories. And my guide said, that's what we're talking about. But everybody needs to know that real people have these experiences
Yeah.
to get the word out. And
Yeah.
so I just thought, oh, this is going to be wonderful. I just build it and everybody's going to come. Well, it took a little bit more work than that. So I find the stories from talking to people.
Yeah.
um, Folks who listen to the podcast will reach out and say, "I've got this story that I really have been, wanting to tell, but I never knew where to share it." Or "I just want to know that I'm not crazy. Am I crazy for having this story?" And so, yeah, people started trickling in. And then I supplemented it as well with stories from the news. So in the book, there's actual
There it is. Real life. So, oh, wait, can you hold it for a second so people can see real life angel encounters? And it's on Amazon, or where did people find it?
on Barnes and Noble, Goodreads, bookshop.org. That's my favorite because you can name an independent bookseller to receive the profits.
Oh, nice.
So I like that one because I love my independent bookstores. And yeah, so Jim also he's got a book series that's based on on his podcast. It's
Ah, very cool.
ghost stories from the show. So yeah, so I put together the book to promote the podcast, and the podcast promotes the book.
Ah, that's so nice. And so those first stories, because I mean, I know that people can be a little shy about sharing their stuff. Like I've even had it where I asked someone if I could share something they told me that was really amazing and inspiring. And immediately they're like, "Oh no, that never happened to me." No, 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 that didn't happen to me. Don't share it. I'm like, okay, I won't. But so how, like, I mean, how did this come about? Because especially, I mean, I'm sure now you've got the podcast, people know they'll come to you, but in the beginning, I bet you it wasn't easy getting the flow started.
No, I mean, it was easier than you think, but it was still not just a walk in the park. It was,
Yeah.
just by talking to people, sharing posts on social media that people would
Yeah.
reach out. And sometimes they were, like you said, and sometimes people are shy to share these things themselves,
Yes.
but they'll say, "Would you just read it? Here, let me see."
Okay. So you would read it for them and that would bring it. That makes sense. Yeah, because you're right, because it's an obstacle. I think it's one of the most common thing is people have this massive fear of being seen. Yeah. So it can be very frightening. Yeah. It's very common. And I can relate to that 100%. Like that was one of my bigger wounds, right? Yeah. Yeah. And here we both are. Hello.
No, we're both so like forward facing.
I
Yeah.
know. Oh, crazy.
Learn to get over that real quick when you've got a
Yeah.
whole team of folks behind you saying, do this, do this, do this.
Yeah. So, okay. So you start the podcast and you have collected these really awesome stories. And I would love to ask you, I know you've got different types of stories. Would you share a story that is like a visitation from a loved one that you found to be inspiring?
Oh yeah, I think that's a great idea because I always wonder, what do people want to hear? So I don't even need to refer to the book. I know this story. This is my from my friend Angela. So you talk about where do you get the stories? My friend Angela, our daughters went to the same school and we knew each other socially as well. So her sister Melissa had passed very suddenly, very tragically, very unexpectedly
Oh.
several years ago, and it was an accidental overdose, and
Mm.
she passed in the bathroom. So that's kind of the set. That's kind of the scene. So Angela was wanting to have a sign from her sister. She missed her so much, and it was so just unexpected. She just wanted a sign, and no signs were coming. She had listened to a TV show where there was a medium saying that if you want to receive a sign from a loved one, ask for something specific. So that's what I'm going to do. She asked for specifically a bluebird. Now, we live in Kansas City, the Midwest, and it's a city bordered, and it's between Kansas and Missouri. Her wife lives in Parsons, which is a couple of hours into Kansas. No bluebirds around here. And it was wintertime. There's no bluebirds around. But she said, that is my sign. That is the sign that I want. Well, she's driving these 2 hours to Parsons, Kansas, to be with family, and she's listening to a CD in her car. Of course, who has CD players in their car anymore? But a friend had sent her a CD of her favorite singer, Howard Jones. And this was a CD that was recorded live at a concert. So it was a live recording. She's listening to this CD and she just about wrecks because there's a line in a song that he's singing that says, just like the bluebird, I'm free.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, that was a sign. Now there's
That's so
another
beautiful.
line in the song that says, I dropped my phone down the loo, which is British for toilet.
Yeah.
Okay. It's passed in the bathroom. And so she just knew that this was her sister telling her what happened and how that she's just free of her body.
Wow.
I couldn't put the lyrics in the book because of copyright infringement. But here's the interesting part is that this was not even a Howard Jones song. This song was a cover of David Bowie's Lazarus.
Oh my gosh.
So this is not in his normal catalog of songs that she would have known.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's so awesome. So awesome. And I love that, okay, the sign couldn't show up as a physical bird because the environment couldn't provide it, but here it was right here. And then she was open to receive it, which is so cool. Yeah. And let that be true because it is. I mean, if you look at it, what are the coincidences? What are the chances? Yeah. That is so awesome. So, okay. So what about one of the stories you would have about someone who nearly died? I know that's what another category that you have in the book.
Yes. Oh my gosh. The story of David Ditchfield is so compelling. David, again, a very lovely person. He was incidentally the first non-American and first Zoom person that I interviewed on the Radiate Wellness podcast. My
Oh, wow.
yeah, my publisher O Books also published his book and heard me speaking to Jim Harold of all people on YouTube and thought, that lady's really cool. She's got great questions. I like her vibe. I like the way she conducts herself. So they reached out and asked if I would want to interview David. And I said, oh,
Very
yes,
cool.
I would. Are you kidding me? So he had a very well known and well documented near death experience. He was seeing a friend off on the train in the UK where he lives. His coat got caught in the sliding door. He got drug under the train
Oh my God.
for several seconds, not quite a minute, but it was terrifying. And his friend who was
Wow.
on the train thought she saw the whole thing happen. She saw him go under, and she asked everybody to start praying. And everybody prayed. They pulled the emergency brake. They stopped. The paramedics came, everything. They got him out. He was nearly dead. His left arm was nearly severed, hanging on by a thread. He's in and out of consciousness. They take him to the hospital. His family meets there and he's thinking, why is my family here? This must have been really bad. Of course, he's completely out of it. So he was rushed into surgery. And he has this near-death experience where he is on a slab on the other side, on a rock slab, and there are these beings around him healing him with their hands. And
Wow.
the story is called Angel in a Black T-shirt because one of the angels on the other side was this dude in a black T-shirt and jeans. And he thought, is my angels? Have an
Where's the robe? Couldn't you dress up?
uniform, friend.
It's kind of a special day for me. I died.
My God, that's hilarious. And casual Friday, someone says in the chat. Yes, it's casual Friday. I'm gonna have to tell David that. And so he had this wonderful experience where they're healing him, they're talking to him. They not only healed his body, they healed his soul. And that's
Oh,
a really, really exceptional part about it. So he comes back to this life and gosh, how to tell this story. So he comes back to this life, and first of all, he's in the hospital recovering, and he's like, somebody give me a pad of art paper and some
oh,
colored pencils. He says, I've got to create some art. Now, this guy, he did a little bit of graphic design, and that's about it. He was no artist, but he just had to start like drawing what he had seen. You kind of like, if you've seen that movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Richard
yes, where he's like making the mountain out of mashed potatoes and yeah.
compelled to make this artwork. So he recovers and then he ends up again the serendipity, right? Just like you said, when things are aligned, things just flow for you. So
Yeah.
he found a studio that was given to him for free for him to use and right with great lighting and everything else and
Oh, wow.
he got art
Mhm.
supplies and he starts painting these huge pictures of the angels that he saw. But not only that, he started composing music. He had this little crappy Casio keyboard and he was composing music again, like Richard Dreyfuss making the Devil's Tower out of mashed potatoes. So he starts writing this music, and then somebody gives him a little computer with some software that will transpose the music into sheet music.
Oh.
He wrote a symphony with
Oh
all
my gosh.
for all of the orchestra and everything. And people were saying, you have no formal training in music. He knew three chords.
Wow.
He was in a punk band and knew three chords on the guitar. So he wrote an entire symphony. And people were saying, you can't do that. You've not had any formal training. You don't know any of these instruments. He says, I don't know. I just wrote this symphony.
Yeah.
And it's performed. He's since written more. And he's got this completely different life.
Oh my gosh.
And there's an extensive interview that I did with him on Real Life Angel Encounters that and he also spoke about his experience on Radiate Wellness. But in the book, he tells his complete story about how they didn't only heal his body, but they healed his soul because before the accident, he didn't have a lot going for him. He had menial jobs, no formal education. He grew up dyslexic at a time when people in his part of the world didn't know what to do with you. He's slow, he's lazy, he just can't learn, he's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things. So he had a terrible self-image. But just through this feeling of love that I'm gonna start crying. The love that his guides, his team had shown him, it completely healed his soul. And he
Wow.
just had all of these downloads and breakthroughs and just completely shifted and changed his life.
That is so incredible. So what is your like, do you have a working theory about like how like what changed in him that gave him this ability to write a symphony? I mean, like what is your do you have a theory on that? Or does he have a theory on that?
Well, I believe, okay, two things. One, it reminds me of the story of Dr. Eben Alexander. Are you familiar with him?
Yes, yeah. Uh-huh. And for anybody who's not, can you give a quick, just a quick, yeah.
Dr. Eben Alexander wrote the book Proof of Heaven. He was a
Yeah.
neurosurgeon and he had, I think it was bacterial meningitis
Yes, yeah.
that was eating his brain, and he was in a coma for a week. He had, I think, a 2% chance of coming through this and not being in a vegetative state. And
Yeah.
the odds were really against him. He was in this coma for so long, and the prognosis was terrible. But during that time, he had a very extended near death experience. that he was back and forth. And when he was on the other side, he was with this beautiful guide who he called his sister. There was this beautiful music that was there that was healing his body.
Yeah.
But he came out of this near death experience with all of his faculties, might I say, all of his faculties. He felt compelled to like tell everybody what this music was and share this kind of music with everybody. He went back to neurosurgery for a while, but he was so distracted with this drive, this need, this compulsion to share his experience with everybody and share the afterlife. He wrote the book, he started touring. I saw him here in Kansas City when he spoke. He was very dynamic. He's been on the Radiate Wellness podcast as well. He's a very kind and very genuine, very gentle person.
Yeah.
Lovely person. And he has produced CDs of this music. He just is into past life education. So wonderful. So there is that. I was going somewhere with this. Now I
Yeah. I've got a theory. I have a theory what it might be is
oh,
I think because they both received healing on the other side and healing of the soul on the other side, my theory would be that it's the song of their own soul and that they're sharing it. They're sharing, each of them are come back with compelled to share the song of their soul. That's my theory. I love it. What do you think?
I think my theory is that they felt the presence of divine love.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
going to change you when you feel this just love coursing through you, every fiber of you. That's going to change you. Now,
Yeah.
in HT sessions, the quantum healing hypnosis sessions, when clients are with their higher self and they're speaking with their higher self, I always like to ask, can you please flow divine love into this person so that they know how much spirit loves them?
Yes.
Gosh, that's the most beautiful thing. And that is so transformative.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, yeah. For someone to have, I think if they feel a physical sensation of that love can be so incredibly compelling, so compelling. Yeah. And you are not picky in terms of saying it can only be a certain type of angel who comes through in terms of these experiences. You're open. You're like, is this a lost loved one? Is this Ganesh? Is this aliens? Right. So, and you even have one person who was contacted by aliens before birth, like that it tells a whole story about their relationship to aliens. Are you willing to share that story?
Absolutely. So this client, Mary from the East Coast, she was about 7 and her mother told her this story of how she was conceived. And a 7-year-old does not know about conception or anything like that. But the mom was saying that there were these beings that were in the bedroom after the parents finished having sex. And this, Mary at 7 years old did not know what to make of this. And she didn't really have the courage to ask her mom any more about this. And unfortunately, her mother passed. But later, she had this experience with aliens that were visiting. And she had been curious about this and she started Googling things. And she couldn't really Google, like, because she wasn't sure to call them angels or to call them aliens. And so she was Googling angel, aliens, alien angels. She came up with the Real Life Angel Encounters podcast.
Okay.
She was visited by these beings, and they said, we're all aliens somewhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you call us because we're all aliens somewhere. It's such a cute thing. And then she had described having another hypnosis session where she lives, and I don't think it was QHHT, it was some other form of spiritual or metaphysical hypnosis, and that she had seen these beings in her session. And she knows
Oh,
that she
wow.
always had. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
So they were there from her conception and she's been guiding with that is amazing. And the fact that her mom saw them too, that is so wild.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is super, super cool. And now I'm sure they're part of her team, right? Part of here to help her.
Well, I think all of us have some extraterrestrials on our team. I've
Yeah,
got one called Osmar that's on my team.
it's so cool. So cool.
And
So one of the things I love that you have talked about is mindset about the idea of how I think that and I've seen this before, people who are on the journey to spirit who have a little bit of the like where there's that disbelief where it's like, even if something were to like land and like even if like Yeshua came and sat in their lap, they'd be like, yeah, but maybe that wasn't him. There's a little bit of that, like it's, like it's somebody else's experience, but it's not happening to me. Like, what is your perspective on mindset when it comes to experiencing miracles?
Okay, well, we don't have to be Joan of Arc. We don't have to be Moses to have these encounters. Our guides are, well, if anybody remembers those old commercials, operators are standing by, right? I think I think our angelic team is standing by. They want to work with us. They're with us all the time. They're always communicating to us. We might not always receive that,
Yeah.
right? We might not always be open to it. So, mindset. I think we need to all be open to the possibility, open to I don't have to be anybody special. I don't have to be Ann Tucker to hear from my angels, right? I don't have to be Joan of Arc to hear from my angels. So be open to it. Know that they are with you and want to communicate, but also keep an open mind. Remember, Angela, my friend, wanted to see a bluebird in the wintertime. But she kept an open mind to know that that bluebird was coming in the form of a lyric on a song,
Yes.
right? To keep an open mind. And also to know that we're hearing from them all the time. And that might be the still small voice that we dismiss.
Hmm.
Oh, it's so easy to say, oh, it's just a coincidence. It was wishful thinking. It was just a fluke.
It was
Oh,
luck, right? Oh, wow. Wasn't that lucky? Yeah. Yeah. I heard you talking about this with someone else on one of your other interviews, and they shared a personal experience about where they had like nearly crashed and then didn't. And I bet you, I mean, if we look, everybody that was here, like I remember when he told about that, it brought to me to mind a story, very simple, when I was 16 and driving and and I was on this really, really busy road called Fuerte in San Diego. And it's a curvy road like this, and it's two lanes, and there's like a drop off over here. And you know how like as teenagers age, that part of their brain that is like judgment gets like smaller compared to the rest of their brain. Well, somehow 16-year-old me was like, I think I'll pass this slow person on Fuerte Drive. And yeah, just like crazy. And I remember pulling around and seeing another car coming straight at me. And somehow I managed to get around the other car and get back on the line. And I thought, as soon as I did, I'm like, well, that was a bad idea. But in that
oh,
moment, like I
oh,
look back at that and I think, well, and I had other kids in the car with me, I mean, I wasn't alone. Yeah, like that would have been a life-changing event. And was I being helped by an angel right there? Like I mean, it was close, right? It was close. And
yeah.
yeah, and I could look at that and say like, oh, it was my amazing youthful reflexes. No, like there was somebody that helped me to get back into the lane. And I could look at that and say, yeah, that was just luck. But no, I'm choosing to feel the divinity of that moment, to choosing to feel that. And it wasn't, and I don't look at myself and say I was like, I joke about, we make mistakes, we learn by making mistakes. I mean, has anything like that happened to you?
Well, with the driving, yeah, and it's
Yeah.
a story, one of the stories in my book, that there is this place on I-35 goes through Kansas City, and downtown is just gnarled up with I-35, and there's I-70 and 670, all these things. And there's this one place where it's very common for me to need to go from entering I-35 on the right and then immediately getting off on either Southwest Boulevard or Broadway Boulevard on the left. And those
Yeah.
are the places I go.
Yeah.
And across 5 lanes of traffic.
Yeah.
And if you miss one of those exits, you've got to go way out of your way to circle back around. So I'm getting on 35 and I'm white knuckling it. I'm looking over my shoulder. I've got my Archangel Michael medal hanging from my rear view, and I'm rubbing the metal and I'm white knuckling it and looking. I'm like, okay, it looks clear. I'm going to go. So I go across and then I look over just to make sure that everything's okay. Here's a semi truck that was right next to me. I don't know how I drove through it, but I did.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, how?
Wow. And there
Right?
it is, right? And there it is. See, I think when we look back through our lives, I'm willing to bet that everyone can come up with an experience that reflects that in their life. I bet you every single one of us probably have a moment that we can point to and say, I don't know how that happened, or in that moment, wow, was that lucky break, or that lucky thing, or that just one time. I have a friend who and she had, I mean, I'm sure this was an angel for her, and hers is more obvious, but like those moments where someone says something to you that's just the thing you needed to hear in that moment, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I'm thinking of a friend of mine who had this crazy experience where she's pretty well known, actually. She's now on a spiritual path and a spiritual teacher, and Wendy DeRosa. And she tells a story about how she was outside Tower Records with a friend, and she sees this guy who's busking, and he stops and says, "You need to move to Colorado." Yeah, just out of the blue, he says, "Wendy, you need to move to Colorado." And she's like, "What do you mean? What are you talking about?" And then of course she goes, and the thing comes back and he's gone. He's disappeared. And she now, of course, like lives in Colorado, and she's gone on this whole journey and stuff like that. But like out of the blue, like an angel came through this guy and said, "Wendy, you need to move to Colorado." Yeah. So, anyways, but I think the cool thing is that it's in these little moments that we might not be so obvious, but clearly a moment where our guardian angel or someone that loved us in spirit stepped through, that we all have a moment like that. Like I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it.
And that's just it. There's so many people who say, "Well, I don't have any angel stories really, but there's this one time."
Yeah, right. That's kind of amazing. It's really amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we all have these things. It's
Yeah. So another thing I wanted to ask you about that I thought was, I think, really helpful is that a lot of people ask me, because I channel the angels, and a lot of people will ask me, like, which angels do you channel? And I, the first time I connected, I did ask a name, and I got Archangel Uriel was Archangel Uriel was one of the ones I was speaking to, but then they told me not to use names after that, from that point forward. And I know you are not that attached to names, and I wanted you to just share your thoughts on that.
on names. I mean, really, it's more frequencies that they identify themselves with.
Yeah.
And I've heard you on your shows and with other guests talking about the frequencies and the being a match to the frequency of them. And so, they'll often say, "Well, I don't really have a name, but if you need to call me something, you can call me Joe."
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That you can make up a name and it's okay, right?
fine, it's fine. They really don't care what you call them. They just want you to call them.
Right. And so would you say that's true across the board? Is that true for ETs? Is that true for like angels? From your experience, is it like any name as long as you give them a name? I mean, you don't have to give them a name, but you know what I mean? That it doesn't matter as long as it's okay for you.
It's
I
fine. They know. I mean, because what they're responding to is our thoughts. They respond to
Yes.
our energy. So, if you're just thinking, "Hey, guides, I need you. Hey, that one guide, I need you." That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Don't get attached to names like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's how we identify people. But they
Yeah.
identify each other and identify us by our energetic signature.
Yeah. I love that. So, what do you think in terms of where you are today on your journey? Because I mean, you've been through the gamut, and it's really awesome to see you here, really fulfilling your purpose and sharing your gifts, and you're, like I said, a full-time practitioner and out in the world. What would you say is your growth edge? Like what is in front of you right now? What is your current, whether it be spiritual challenge? Where is your, yeah, what are you growing against at the moment or with?
Right, growing with. Well, right now I'm going through my recertification process for my level 3 certification with QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis technique. It's a lot. They really ask a lot of level 3 practitioners, and I'm glad they do because it makes us the best that we can possibly be. So I'm working on that right now, my recertification, just getting all of my CEUs together and my documentation together and all of that. But also, I'm working on a retreat in April in Sedona with another level 3 QHHT practitioner. We've got some wonderful things coming up. We had a third person with us, was going to be presenting this retreat with us, and she had to drop out for family reasons.
Yeah.
Hint, hint, we're looking for someone to participate in the retreat with us. Actively looking.
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes, absolutely. So that's kind of what I'm working on now. And I'm looking ahead to the next volume of Real Life Angel Encounters, and also looking for a new podcast platform because my contract has expired with Radiate Wellness on the mindbodyspirit.fm. And so I thought, well, if my contract has expired with them, I might look around for another hosting platform. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm working on now.
But what about from a personal perspective? I mean, here we are entering the eclipse season. I mean, like, how are you experiencing it? Just knowing, and I say this because we're all on a journey, and it's, I think it's important for people to feel also that you can be a spiritual practitioner. I'm always very transparent about my own wounds and my own growth. And I think it's helpful. Like, yeah, where you can be out there and you can be doing the work and you can be helping other people and still on your own path and on your own journey. As a matter of fact, it makes you a better practitioner, right? It makes you better.
It really does. It really does. So, the eclipses have been hard for anybody who is energetically sensitive. It,
Yeah.
the Schumann resonance has been crazy.
Yeah.
The solar activity it's been a lot on top
Yeah.
of all of the physical stuff that we're living through now in the news and all around us, right? So all of the energies are really, really, really dense. And so just working on balancing, um, having a foot in both worlds. In other words, how do you stay practical and live your life and pay your bills and go to the grocery store while you're experiencing all these, consciousness events, and just always working on raising consciousness and um, bringing in new people to help them expand their consciousness. I say in the book that I am on a mission of a mission of world domination. Domination is twofold. One, to let everybody know that you're never alone. We're never alone, any of us. And two, that we are so much more than we think.
Yeah.
So, just expanding the reach of that mission as well.
Yes. Yeah. Beautiful. That's beautiful. So, what do you think in terms of the that your journey thus far? If you were to go back and say redo anything, is there
Mhm.
anything that you would look back on and say, I wish I could have do-overs anywhere on your journey?
Yeah, I wish I had met Dolores Cannon. I do.
Oh
That's
yeah.
in 2014, and I took my level one in 2016. So I wish I would have met her. I probably would have handled the dissolution of the marriage a little bit differently. I don't know, not from, oh, well, not from anything I would have done, but I think I would have shifted my energy around it.
Yeah.
I would have
Mhm.
I would have looked at it a little bit differently. But also my fertility journey. I
Oh.
looked at that differently because that was 7 years of
Wow.
infertility before adopting.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
When my daughter came 19 years ago, um, I didn't know not even half of this stuff. I didn't know any of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I would have looked at my body differently. I would have looked at the process differently. And when she came, it was clear this was the child that was meant for me,
Yeah.
right? Meant for us. I
Yeah.
would have looked
Yeah.
at that a lot differently. I wouldn't have been so sad for so long.
That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. And how is your family? How do they respond to what you do today?
Well, that's kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah.
No, they really don't quite understand what I do. They think it's really cool that I wrote a book. So that's nice. My dad thought it was really cool that I was on YouTube. And I've got a lot of stuff on YouTube. He thinks that's cool. In fact, I dedicated the book to my dad. He passed in 2022, and he always thought that the highest thing you could ever achieve is to write a book.
Oh, well, isn't that cool? Yeah.
So I
That's really
dedicated.
cool.
In fact, I've got him with me today because I was
Wow.
nervous about this interview. So I brought dad along with me. Yeah.
Oh,
So the rest of the family, my brother thinks I'm crazy, and that's okay. My sister's starting to get it. So yeah.
that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, I think it's one of those things where you can love a person and have different ways of being in the world, and it's okay. So as long as, yeah. So it's nice that you feel like that clearly has not inhibited you, which is awesome.
No, 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 no. I
Yeah.
don't I don't think they could inhibit me at all. But
Yeah.
I'm a Leo, okay? So
You got to be out there and shine. Exactly.
got a Leo. And
So, oh, go
there
ahead.
are
I'm sorry.
oh, I'm so sorry. There are lots of people that their family does inhibit them from
Yeah.
moving, but that's their path too.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So I noticed there's a couple people in our community here who do have really cool experiences that they would be open to sharing. So how might they contact you as potential guests for your podcasts?
Excellent, excellent. So, Angel Encounters Podcast is the at gmail.com is the email address.
Yeah.
And I'm
Did you hear
seeing
that, Angie? Angelencounters.com. Is that right?
Angel Encounters Podcast
Okay. Angelencounterspodcast.com.
at at gmail.com.
Oh,
So since
okay.
you can also go to radiatewellnesscommunity.com, and
Okay.
there is a page on there for the podcast, and then there's a submission link.
Okay, that's fantastic because I know it's like trying to get get those stories cannot be. I tell a story that blew my mind, which I've shared several times, and I have permission to share it. But the woman who shared it with me would not come on. I tried to get her to come on my show, and she was not ready for that. As a matter of fact, when she told the story to me, it was really a miracle for me. Like it came at a time when I needed a miracle because the next day I had to come on Friday Live and I had to share a message saying that the angels were going to be giving us miracles, that we were going to be receiving miracles. And I had a hard time taking that in because I had that natural skepticism of being like, oh, isn't that a nice thought? Wouldn't that be lovely? But I wasn't embodying it at all. So that night I went out to dinner and I literally like went into the store I've never been in and I ran into the sales clerk who's this lovely woman and she asked what you do, and these days I'm loud and proud, I channel angels. And she looks at me and she starts telling me this story, and she has a coworker she's worked with for 15 years who did not know the story, so literally she has told no one. And here she decides randomly to share it with a stranger. So this is my miracle where she tells me this incredible story, and it inspires me. And I'm like, I want. And so the story is, which some of you have already heard, is that she was coming to the U.S. She's from France. She got stuck in customs and missed her connection. So she was stuck in the city she wasn't supposed to be in. She has a young baby with her. And she's there in the airport. She comes out like 2 hours after her flight took off, and everything is shutting down. The restaurants are shutting down. The ticket desks, the booths are all shutting down. Like the whole airport is closing. And she has $10 in her wallet. And so she's just devastated. So she pretty much ends up sitting on the floor, kind of crying to herself, feeds her baby. And then she's just sitting there. And this ticketing agent comes over to her and says, are you okay? What's going on? And she says, oh, yeah. It tells her the story. And the ticketing agent says, come with me. I'll take care of you. And she reopens one of the desks, goes in the back, comes back out with a bunch of papers. And in the papers, there are a voucher for a shuttle to a local hotel, a voucher for a free stay at the hotel, a voucher to get back to the airport in the morning. And she rebooks her flight, her connecting flight for the morning. So she says, here's everything you need. You're all set. Go and have a good night's sleep, and we'll see you in the morning. So the woman is just sobbing. She goes down, she gets her baby, she gets all her stuff, she stands back up, and she can't find her to say thank you and goodbye. The woman's gone. So the
Oh,
next morning, she comes to the airport and she goes to check in for her flight, hands the woman her ticket. And the woman says, who booked this for you? And she says, oh, the gate agent that was here last night. She had short gray hair. She was wearing the uniform. And the woman said, there was nobody here last night. And there's no gate agent that fits that description. It doesn't exist. Yeah.
well, did they honor her voucher? Was it
Yeah. The voucher was valid. It was all valid. Yeah. And the ticket was valid. Is that not incredible?
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a story that was on fairly recently on the Real Life Angel Encounters podcast. So this man James lived in Florida when he grew up, and his mom and his little sister and he were at this open air kind of thrift store flea market thing, and
Yeah.
there's stands and stalls and streets going through this market. So the little sister was in a stroller, and he was maybe 5 or 6, and the
Yeah.
sister was maybe 3, and she was developmentally disabled. She was nonverbal
Mm.
and was developmentally disabled. And so they're shopping, and then they turn around, and here she's slipped out of her stroller and she's run off. Right. And
Oh,
so they're frantic. They're
yeah.
looking everywhere for her. And here comes this older gentleman, and he's got the little girl by the hand, and he comes walking up with her. He goes, here, I found Elizabeth. and gave her off. And there's, oh my gosh, that's wonderful. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. You found her and everything. They're getting her strapped into a stroller. They turn around to thank him and he's gone.
Yes.
Or how did he know her name?
Wow.
She was not,
Wow, wow, wow.
yeah,
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it.
easy. I would love to have that story on Real Life Angel Encounters.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But she's not ready to share it. The one I shared, she's not, because I tried. I asked her. She was
Oh,
like, no, 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 no. But I've told it enough times to do it proud. And she and yeah, but it was, and like I said, for me, it was a miracle inside of a miracle, because for her to decide in that moment to share the story with me, it was, I recognized the beauty of it. And I saw, like, in that moment, it was like the next morning I was able to go and share the message with total conviction, which is what I needed. I needed it. And the angels have said that very clearly, that they will show up for us in much more, like they said, they will be able to take form, just like the guy outside of Tower Records and like the guy outside the stroller. They'll be able to take form. They'll be able to help us in more concrete ways increasingly, which is just incredible. It's incredible.
yeah. And I think this is why my guides were so insistent on starting the podcast and then,
Yeah.
later picking up the book, because we all need to know that everyday people have these experiences. And when we start talking with each other, it's kind of like back in the after Jesus was dead and then his followers were scattering, they would identify each other. They'd be talking to somebody and think, oh, this person might have the same vibe, maybe is a follower of Jesus too. Let's see. And when they would draw an arc in the sand with their toe, just kind of absentmindedly. And if the other person made an arc in the sand to match it and make that little fish, they knew that that was someone who was part of this
Oh, how
uh,
interesting.
that
Yeah.
kind of this symbol. So I think when we start sharing stories with each other, it's like we're closing this
Yeah.
sand. We're matching with people who also have these experiences, and it just makes the world a little bit smaller, and it makes us
Yeah.
all so much more aware of this unending stream of love we have around us at
Yes.
all times.
Yes. I love it. I love what a fun conversation. I have loved it. So I would highly encourage, I saw many of you have great stories. So please do reach out to
Oh,
Christy.
please, please.
And you can find, if you want more of this kind of uplifting content, make sure you find her book, because the book is full of these amazing stories, as well as you have two podcasts, so you can find her there. But I would love to see your guys' story on her show. That would be so cool.
Please reach out, angelencounterspodcast at gmail.com, or just go to radiatewellnesscommunity.com/podcast.
Super
And
cool.
there's a submission link right there.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Christy. It's been so fun. And thank you guys, everyone, for being here today. It's been such a great conversation. And as always, an amazing community. So thank you so much for being a part of it. You guys know we're always here on the second Thursday of the month with an amazing conversation with someone you are going to love meeting. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you again soon. Thank you, Christy. Bye-bye, you guys.